internet. It's another beautiful day, another beautiful moment, and we're so glad to be here with you, here at the Pop Cult Parent. My name is Mark F. Jones, and I'm honored to share this microphone with...
The name is Niels R.Y., a.k.a. Blackity Black Manhattan.
Cause he's black, y'all.
Cause he's black,
y'all. He's blackity black and he's black, y'all.
He black.
He black. Today we have a really special episode. We're going to talk about something that is really dear to our hearts.
Yeah, man.
But also captured the zeitgeist, the culture. We're going to talk about the HBO Watchmen. We don't know if it's a miniseries or a series. That is yet to be known. But we're going to talk about HBO's Watchmen.
Yeah, man.
I think the best way to do this is to maybe just get into it.
We're going to talk about Watchmen, but before we jump into that, Mark, what's going on in the world of Kosi? What are things that she's into nowadays?
Yeah, man, it's been a rough bag. Kosi got pneumonia. But she's doing better. She's still strong. She's still standing. I'm trying to think, what is she into right now? I mean, obviously, like I said, Moana runs my house.
Yes.
We actually went back to Sesame Street for a little while.
Okay.
And it's like she never left.
Yeah, Elmo's still consistent and strong.
Like, yeah. I'm trying to think anything new. It's been like, I feel like I have not left Disney Plus since I got it.
Somewhere there's an executive like in a Disney. Good. Let the childhood flow.
like you said it when we talked about the streaming wars, man. Disney, their business is childhood.
Yep.
And like
Disney is childhood.
And every time I'm looking for something for Kosi to watch, Disney Plus is my first stop.
And that's funny enough, because if you're wanting to know what Ian's been watching nowadays, there's two shows, besides, of course, Super Y. There's two shows that Ian is consistently watching and liking now. They just so happen to be on Disney Plus. Funny enough, right? So the first one is PJ Masks. If you have a niece, nephew, any kid in your life who is younger than the age of like 7, then you probably know about PJ Masks. Great theme song. There are superhero kids who wear PJs and fight crime at night. That's not really crime. It's like, just stuff that's happened.
It's like someone's like knocking over trash cans or something.
Yes. And like there are no parents around. There's no adults
annoyances
around.
And they gotta take care of it.
And these pajamas are like stronger than Power Ranger suits. Like they're like top notch superhero artillery. Zordon can't light a candle near some of these power suits that the kids got. Needless to say, it's like toy grab central. Like anything, like I can tell that they made this show to sell merchandise, and we have participated.
Yeah.
Ian has like 3 PJ Masks toys.
Who's his favorite? Because I'm familiar with PJ Masks. Kosi does not watch it, but it's been in my life before. So
I think he likes saying the word owlet. So he says owlet a lot. Owlet. He says a lot.
They have a car, don't they?
They all have cars.
They all?
And they all have motorcycles. And they have, like, each of them has, like, they have, like, a ship, a giant ship, the PJ Masks mobile or whatever. Needless to say, yeah, they all got everything. But I think Ian likes Gecko the most. Yeah. That is the super strong white boy. But anyways, yeah. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is is a show called Little Einstein, which is kind of like a sequel to Baby Einstein. It's a kids' TV show. They explore in this ship, and they play classical music in the background. So it's like kind of dope, because it's kind of like Baby Einstein, where they had classical music during like with visuals. But I believe the reason Ian loves this show, and it's partly me and Shamel's fault, is because their theme song is so catchy.
We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, zooming through the sky. Little Einsteins, climb aboard, get ready to explore. There's so much to find. Little Einsteins, we're going on a mission. Start the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone to rocket, rev it up now.
I think the grabber for a lot of these kids is the theme song, because I'm thinking about everything Kosi likes, and the theme songs go. Like the new DuckTales theme song. I mean, it's DuckTales, and she loves DuckTales. Tots, what I talked about earlier, like the theme song is just very catchy, and I think that's the key. You get these kids with these. It happened to us. Pokemon.
I mean, literally all of our favorite kids shows back in the day had dope theme songs. All right, so we're gonna jump into the episode.
Watchmen.
So a little bit of history about Watchmen. So Watchmen was, it's probably considered the greatest, if not the greatest, and one of the greatest graphic novels of all time. If you don't like this comic book, then whoever your favorite comic book writer is, this is their favorite comic book. Like it's been pivotal in like the past 20, 30 years. So needless to say, it's a really big comic book. There's a lot of big themes that come out of it. The biggest theme of it, of course, is the nuclear war and how the world can be affected with like costume vigilantes and amongst a world where the nuclear threat is this big. So there's been, of course, the graphic novels. There's been backstories to the graphic novels. There has been a short series TV show to talk about some of the scenes that are in Watchmen. There has been the well-known movie that Zack Snyder made. And then, of course, the Watchmen television show that David Lindelof helped make. The guy
writer on Lost, and one of my favorite shows of all time, The Leftovers.
Yep. So that's a bit of the history. And Mark, you want to add anything to the history?
Well, I have two questions for you, and you answered one before, but I think it'll be good to repeat this. But in the Watchmen universe, besides Dr. Manhattan, there are no superpowers, correct?
That is a very important question because there is a reason why this is the case. Dr. Manhattan is the only person in the Watchmen universe that has superpowers. And they make it a point to say that because, one, they want to show how ridiculous it is to have superpowers.
Yeah.
Like, it's like looking at it like this is what would happen if someone had superpowers. And this is what they would do with it. And then two, like, it just shows you the testicular fortitude for these folks to be in costumes, to be vigilantes, and like what kind of psychosis it means to like say that, okay, you have the mentality that you can wear this outfit and do whatever you want to save the day. Like, what does that mean for you? So that is why Dr. Manhattan is the only person that has superpowers.
And then the only other question I have, and I feel like you answered this before, is why was this always said it would be impossible to adapt this book?
Yeah, and this is part of, if you've seen any negative complaints about the TV show, and there's not a lot, but if you've seen any negative ones, it is because it is such an in-depth story. So like the Watchmen comic book, it's not just about like the main characters, Sally Jupiter and Night Owl and Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan. It's not just about them. It's about what happened before. It's about what's happening with the pirate ship and the guy on the pirate ship.
Yeah.
The little mini story that's in there.
Because in the Watchmen universe, right, superheroes are a thing, so they're not popular in movies. Like pirate movies are popular. Is that why that happens? I feel like
there's even more to it than that, but like that's part of it.
Okay.
Like it's important. Like the crazy thing about Watchmen stories is the side stories are just as important as the main stories. So like you have to read the pirate book to fully understand Watchmen. Just like you have to watch Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias' little side story to get what's going on here. But it's like not directly connected, but it is connected.
Yeah.
So it's like an all-encompassing story that they're like, there's no way. What scene are you going to cut out? Which is why Zack Snyder, and like the other big thing is, and this is part of the main reason, Alan Moore, one of the co-authors for Watchmen, said this work should not be touched.
Well, and then he is like famously known for like hating any adaptation of his work or any. He's like correct. Known for that. Like that no matter correct. Who does it, who touches it, he's like it sucks.
Yeah, he is well known for like don't touch it, don't do anything with it. And like part of this story is one, he had a really hard time making Watchmen. There's a lot of things that he wanted to do that they were like no, so he had to just get really creative.
I heard that he wanted to do Watchmen, but with the Justice League.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an important thing, and it'll go into the character. So I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But that's a very good part. That's part of the difficulties in him making it.
Okay.
There's that, and then he's literally he like says like you cannot touch this work. This is all the reasons why you cannot touch this work. No, there should not be a sequel. Like the way I made this story is for it to end the way it ended. No, I will not explain more. Like don't touch the work. It is Ghostbusters. Don't touch it. Except they made.
There is no Vigo the Carpathian. There's only Zool.
Yeah, like he's like this is a sacred piece of work that should not be touched. So and what I tell people who are like, why is his approach like this, and why do people even want to touch it? It's like, imagine if the Wachowskis made the Matrix, and they're like, okay, no one touch it.
Yeah,
like they don't make a sequel. They don't even want to make a sequel. They say no to a TV show. They say no to a cartoon. They say no to a video game. They say no to everything. But they make one of the best sci-fi movies of all time.
It's like a meaner version of the guy who did Calvin and Hobbes. Like, like I think he's like he doesn't want to make. People have been dying to make Calvin and Hobbes like TV show forever.
It'd be a great TV show.
He doesn't want to release his. He's like, when I have it, I can make it what I want it to be.
Yeah,
and so but he's probably said it a nicer way than.
So think about it. Like, for those of you who've seen The Matrix, just like imagine the Wachowskis make this amazing movie that came out of nowhere, and then don't touch it, and then say no to anyone who wants to touch this work, who's motivated thousands of people to do what they do. There are people who are like, I want to act because I saw The Matrix, or I want to make movies, I want to write movies because of The Matrix, and they're like, nope, you can't touch it.
Yeah,
like that's what the Watchmen is in comic book lore, which is why like they are never going to stop trying to like expand on the universe. Yeah. So that's a little story of Watchmen. So we're gonna jump into the TV show. One of the first questions I have for you is who your favorite character is, but let me give you some of the context of the Watchmen characters. So the TV show mentions a lot of the characters that were in the book. Some of the main characters of the book are based off of superheroes in the DC universe. The Watchmen is a DC comic book. It's one of the reasons why DC Comics is the greatest comic book company of all time.
As it fixed my nerd glasses.
Well, according to... so Night Owl, y'all can probably guess it. Y'all probably assuming that it's Batman. It's actually not Batman. I mean, Night Owl has some themes to Batman, of course. But Night Owl is actually based off of Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle.
The first Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Really?
It depends on what you consider the first Blue Beetle is.
And to my knowledge...
there is technically a Blue Beetle before Ted Kord.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Just like there's technically a Night Owl before Daniel, what's his name, Dryberg. And so like the Night Owl that's the main character of the Watchmen comic book is technically called Night Owl 2. Yeah. The first Night Owl was a member of the Minutemen.
Watchmen.
So that's Night Owl. Ozymandias, you're probably thinking it's Lex Luthor, but it's actually based off of this guy named Thunderbolt, who's like a guy who's like the first comic book character who was able to tap all parts of his brain and use all parts of his brain. So that's Alan Moore's motivation for Ozymandias. Rorschach is probably like easy if you read comic books. DC comic books is based off of The Question.
See, I always thought Rorschach, The Question, but I always thought it was The Question. But if Batman was unchained, he'd be Rorschach.
Well, some people would say if Batman was unchained, he'd be The Question. So I think your rationale isn't wrong, but it's based off of the original person that The Question was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or
is the Question that damn dog? Does The Question go that hard in the comics?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some other ones in there, but like those are the big ones. So, who is your favorite character in the Watchmen TV show?
Man, man, I hate you because it's such a loaded question. This question was easy to answer
in the first episode.
Per episode, right?
Yeah.
Regina King, Sister Night, I think, I don't know why, and I think it's because episode 5 has a special place in my heart. I don't know, that I really love that episode. I really love Looking Glass.
Yeah.
I really like that character, man. Well, first of all, I love this mask.
Oh, I should probably say this. Sorry to interrupt you, Mark. We are going to spoil
Yes.
the hell out of this TV show. If you have not watched all the episodes of Watchmen,
Do not listen.
do not listen, because we're going to go in
Yeah.
on this show. So please watch it and then come back and join us.
So you've been warned, all right? But no, like Looking Glass, I loved his mask from the get-go. I wanted that mask when he first shows up and he's doing the interrogation. I told my wife, I was like, I want that. I want that. I just want to walk
and
around
knowing
the house.
you're probably going to get it.
I was just like, I just want to walk around the house in that.
And knowing Esco, he probably already has it.
So, and then episode 5 sold it for me, man. That like, because even in the grand scheme of this show, he's not really that involved. Mm-hmm. But episode 5 just like, man, I think it just shows. It's so hard to talk about this show because there's so many pieces, right? This show explores like inherited trauma.
Yep.
And if you guys, you'll probably be able to define this better than me, but inherent trauma is like basically like ancestral trauma that is passed down and stress. So like I think they first started studying this with Holocaust survivors.
Yep.
And it's just like your parents or grandparents went through something, and you, and like through your DNA, you actually inherit the stress of the trauma they went through.
Yep.
And they're saying like that's what Black people have from all the bullshit that we've had to deal from the passage to everything. We've inherited this trauma. I think the Looking Glass,
And it even, sorry to interrupt
No, yeah.
you, but it even shows off in like some of the ways that Black folks in America talk. Like it's a cultural thing. And the funny thing is, for those of you who are like, oh, well, I'm African, like it doesn't affect me. It only takes one generation for it to affect you.
Yeah.
So like you can be in this country for one generation and your kids will have the same type of, quote unquote, would have passed along the same type of trauma that has carried on for African Americans who've been in this country for a longer time, which is wild, but
Yeah.
that's part of the studies.
This is really like, gun to my head, man. I really like Looking Glass, and it's solely because of episode 5 and what he's been through, and that episode showed why someone would end up the way they are, and why they would choose the decisions they do. And I love stuff like that. And we can talk. I think you're gonna talk about favorite episodes, so I want to save that. This cast is so good. There's rarely a show where there are rarely shows where like you like all the characters.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's one.
I like the bad guys.
I don't even like the bad dog. I like Red Scare.
Yeah, I do too.
I like Red Scare. Like he's just this side character who has all
He's
these.
just a communist.
He's just a communist who's just trying to do his job and be a cop, and has all these like funny things to say. I'd have to say Looking Glass is my favorite, but what they do with Regina King, Lady True, Ozzy, it's such a hard question to answer, man.
Yeah, and I mean, you did all the hard work for me. So like, Looking Glass is my favorite
He's your
character.
favorite too?
If I had to pick,
That's
if
what's
gun
up.
to my head for the exact same reasons that you said, and like just to like to hold our horses. Like, let's just give a huge shout out to Regina King because she kills. I mean, she kills everything she does.
She does.
We've said this time and time again on this podcast, but like, she killed this one too.
She was robbed with the Golden Globes in this.
But she gonna win everything.
Like dog, Regina King, like she's not gonna have to worry about her career ever again.
When was she ever worried about her career?
Well, what I mean by that is like she's always been that quarterback. She was a Brad Johnson. Right? Not gonna sell
yes.
not gonna sell a lot of tickets, but we'll get you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But now people are coming to see Regina King, I feel like, after this.
Yeah, I feel you. This is like if Brad Johnson was on the St. Louis Rams when they were the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
And she continues to kill it.
Yeah.
And now she's the MVP.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay. Some people are not going to get that metaphor.
Yeah,
but those who get it are like, yep.
Yep, that's it right there. Shit. Yeah, like she's just so powerful. Like, I'll tell you one thing that, and I don't know if you experienced this. She channels Huey and Riley. I feel like so much. Like I'll be listening to an episode of Watchmen, and I'm like, was that Riley? Was that Huey? This cast is great.
Yeah.
This is such a great cast. Like, everyone brought their A game. There is no one I could cut from this team.
Nope.
I couldn't.
Nope.
I couldn't cut anyone from this team.
Going over the salary cap. So that's it with characters. We're gonna jump into our favorite moments. So Mark, what is your we'll just go to two because we're gonna have plenty more podcasts to go. So name like two of your favorite moments of the show. And mind you, we will be talking about our favorite episodes. By the way, we have Watchmen on in the background, and right now Dick is just swinging. And like any typical Watchmen type of
can I ask you
memorabilia or whatever.
Can I ask you a question?
Property.
Real quick, because we had the scene on earlier. Watchmen's in the background. It's the scene where, if you've seen the show, where Regina King is asking Dr. Manhattan what body he wants to take. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand this. Why does she show him those white bodies first?
Because, well, I mean, it's up to an
what's your
interpretation? I think it's because John Osterman is white. And like he has a white person's face. Like he is white. He's a European person. And she's like, well, you probably feel more comfortable being a white man because you are a white man. Mm-hmm. But like she wants a black man.
Because she was like, no, you know what I love about that scene? Because like she knew where that body was. She was like,
that brother right there.
She was like, oh, but this one is
this brother right here.
So I just like when me and my wife watched the show, I was just like, why did she do that? Why didn't she go straight to that body? Okay, so I'll say one off the back is I didn't know this show was going to be a hit, but I literally said like, are they really doing this? When it's the flashback when you don't know it's Looking Glass and he comes out the funhouse and everyone's like dead. I was like, what is going on? And my wife she didn't know anything about Watchmen. And she was just doing this journey with me, and I was trying to like keep her up with it. So if you know episode 5, Looking Glass comes out of that funhouse, that girl stole his clothes and everyone's dead. And they start pulling back. Because I think the title card in the beginning says like New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. So they start pulling back. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, and they start pulling back. And it wasn't until I saw the tentacle laying on the building, I was like, are they really doing this? And my wife's like, what? And I was just like, the squid. I was like, the squid, babe. She was like, what? And so it pulled back and you see the squid that was from the first Watchmen comic that destroyed, like, that killed all those people in New York. Yep. And I was like, oh my, I was like, I can't believe they did that. It just, and I don't even understand why I can't believe they did that. I think it's just because this show gives no fucks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're with us or you're not with us. But that moment, I was just like, oh my, I literally said, are they doing this?
I didn't realize how giant the squid was. Like,
yes.
I've read the comic book twice, but like the flight, like of course it reaches New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like it's really good. Yes, it's really good. Oh, one of my favorite moments. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, you just named one of my favorite moments.
Oh, sorry, man.
The other one, it's a very small and simple thing, but it's like mwah, beautiful. Especially if you know Watchmen. It's actually episode 8, which we're gonna talk about as one of my favorite episodes. When Dr. Manhattan goes to Ozymandias for his help because he's trying to get his sister. He's like, what do I need to do? And Ozymandias is explaining like some type of tool mechanism to give Dr. Manhattan amnesia. And he was like, how long would it take for you to make it? And like in true Watchmen fashion, he was like, oh, I made this 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, which is...
What did he say? Like, this was
plan A.
Yeah, he's like
amnesia.
Because in the... I'm going to refer to the movie a lot because I've skimmed the comic if I've seen the movie. But in the movie, he sends him into that like kind of like matter,
The chamber.
and it breaks up his atoms, but he comes back.
And that was plan B for blow up.
Yeah, and he said like that was plan B. Plan A was to give you this.
Yeah.
So,
Which is dope.
Yeah.
Just dope.
can we just say like real quick, man? Jeremy Irons, fucking what a perfect cast for for an older Ozzy, and like like I feel bad like because I'm like, yo, you're Jeremy Irons, like you almost killed John McCain. You were Scar. Like, you're like, why did I forget about you?
You could have just said Scar.
like he may not be my favorite character in the show, but he is one of my favorite performances.
That brother was chewing up scenery like it was bubble gum. Like,
and I loved every second of it.
That brother was chewing up scenery like he got paid more than anybody else on the show. He's like, you want Jeremy Irons, you're gonna get all of Jeremy Irons.
He really crushed it.
That's my favorite scene when he's like, oh, I made this 30 years ago. It was planned.
Now, why is that your favorite scene?
Because it shouts out to the comic book, which is like, there's so many reasons why the comic book is beloved, but it was the first time that like the heroes didn't have a chance to stop the big bad thing from happening.
Yeah.
Like the big bad guy explains his plan, explains why he's doing it. And they're like, we got to stop them. And he's like, oh, like the squid is already in New York. I did this like 10, 15 minutes ago.
You know what? That's actually a nice little callback to how Ozzy does his stuff. Because, that they're like, oh, you think we're going to let you do that? He's like, dog, it's done.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you think? I'm not a Bond villain. I'm not going to monologue so you can figure out how to defeat me.
And that was it may not seem like a big deal to us now because we've just seen so much dope creative things. But like, that was the first time that's ever happened.
Gotcha.
It's like when Watchmen did it.
Because you read the comics, you know this universe a lot better than I do. I want to ask you, why did when Dr. Manhattan went to go visit Ozzy, and I'm going to call him Ozzy because I like that name.
Yeah.
But why when he visited Ozzy was his like area, like it looked like disheveled, it looked like everything was wrecked, things weren't working. And I think he went to visit him in 2010. Mm-hmm. But when Lady True came in like 2009, everything looked still new and like what happened?
President Redford became president and didn't reach out to Ozymandias and ask for his help. And he got depressed. That is all that happened. Remember, there was a recording and he was like, you're going to be president.
Yeah.
I made this in 1985.
Yeah.
And I predicted you're going to be president and I know you're president. And this is all the things that you need to do now that you're president. And then he became president and didn't reach out to him and was like, I don't need you. You're a crazy madman. I don't want to work with you. And he got depressed.
Wow. Okay. Because
he was like, I saved the world. Yeah. I myself saved the world. And all I want is recognition. Yeah. Like, all I want is to be praised, to be Ozymandias. Yeah. Like, if you know anything about the character before, like, all this stuff happened, he was like, I just want to be loved. Yeah. And he couldn't get the one thing he wanted. Okay. Which is why he wanted to go to that planet so bad, because he wanted to be loved.
But I guess another moment that really stuck with me, Hooded Justice. Yeah. Not even the whole reveal, I was just like, wow. But when he basically pulls like the Daredevil one take, walk into the building. I don't know if it's one take, but it felt like one. Mm-hmm. That whole, like, he's like, all right, I'm handling this, whatever. He takes out that whole building. And then the fact that the KKK had this mind warping machine. So I attributed that to, like, that was kind of like a little, like call out to how the U.S. government has notedly and documented it, that it's experimented on black people, like the Tuskegee experiment, where they gave this ain't conspiracy theory, this is fact. You can look it up. They gave black men syphilis just to see what would happen. Yes. Just to see what would happen.
Next time you're like wondering why black folks are still cautious about getting flu shots, just Google the Tuskegee experiment. It's like the prime reason why we're like, I don't know about this. So my other favorite moment, again, is also very short and brief, is I believe, episode 7, when Angela is like about to leave the Lady True's place.
Yeah.
Lady True's explaining to her like her plan of like, okay, I'm going to like find Dr. Manhattan and take his powers. Dr. Manhattan's alive. He's on Earth. This and that, and goes over everything. And like Angela's asking questions, and she's about to leave, and Lady True's like, "Why weren't you surprised that I said Dr. Manhattan's on Earth?" And Angela doesn't say anything, and just gets in the elevator and goes upstairs. And that was my favorite moment because I was like, "Oh my God, Calvin's Dr. Manhattan!"
Dog.
Like I got it just like that.
Dog.
I was like, they made a black man Dr. Manhattan.
I was like, nah. Like, cause like my mind went there for like a brief second. It was like, is Calvin? Nah. I was like, maybe. You know what's so funny? Because me and my wife are like, is it the sun?
Something, right? Like,
Yeah, we're like, is it the sun? And then when she went in and she was talking to Calvin, I was like, yo, Calvin's Dr. Manhattan. Like,
that was one of my favorite moments in television.
But-
Television, because like he's right in front of you the whole time, and you like hear this story about amnesia, and you're like, oh, I wonder, he must have been a cop or something. Like he must have got hit in the head. He seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's Dr. Manhattan.
real quick, it doesn't have to deal with the moments or episode, but there's something about the world building of the show I really want to touch on, and I want your take on it because I have the book, but I told my wife she should just watch the movie. I think the movie's a good enough like filler as long as you understand the ending is different. I think the movie can like fill in a lot of gaps for you. So we rewatched the movie and like seeing Rorschach again. There's the things on Rorschach I picked up. I didn't pick up the first time I saw Watchmen. How pretty much racist and pretty much a right winger, right?
Yeah.
Looking back on that, the Seventh Cavalry, it makes so much sense. How they would take his image and what he believed in, and they would like twist it and pervert it into like what they. Because I don't think Rorschach would. He wouldn't be down with the Seventh.
No, Cavalry. Of course not. No.
He like you bunch of freaking fucking blah, blah, blah. You know, like so like the going from the 80s and then this world, like how the police have the same type of technology as Night Owl, and this is a world with no internet and just the electric cars, and then the whole like police having to ask to draw their guns.
Yeah.
The White Knight, how cops are masked and like detectives get to adopt a persona. Just like all that, like loved it. Right.
It's part of the complaint of why no one thinks a Watchmen live action retelling is possible, because it's so much world building that like it takes pages upon pages to comprehend. And then there was the Watchmen TV show that was able to do it. Like I think what it does is something that we appreciate in art, and I think some people don't, but we appreciate, which is like, you know that your audience is smart enough to get it.
Yeah, this show has faith in its audience.
Yes, it's like you can get this. You'll be able
figure
to get
it out.
this.
Either you'll do the research or you'll get it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, definitely.
What is your favorite episode and why?
I'm a cheat, man. It's definitely a tie between...
You bastard. Go ahead.
It's definitely a tie between episode 5 and 6. But like, dog, that Looking Glass episode, it's just this character study. It's like doing a character study on... I'm trying to think of like a minor character. Like let's pick a franchise. Let's say, well, fuck it, we'll pick the Ghostbusters. Okay, right?
Great franchise. Great franchise.
Great franchise. And let's say there was a Ghostbusters cartoon TV show. But let's say there's a live action Ghostbusters TV show, and in one episode they went into Janine's backstory, and it was just like the deepest shit that you've ever seen, and you understood why Janine was the way she was.
And wouldn't that be great? I would love that.
and that's what that episode 5 did. That Looking Glass episode, like the squid opening was just amazing. And when I went back, just how he lived his life, his mask made sense. He never took it off. how he lived, and just there's things in episode 1. I think even the
Silk Spectre.
Yeah, I think she asked him to take off his mask, and he kind of reluctantly is like, and it just answers so many questions.
Or why he never fully takes it off.
Yeah, why he never fully
he tries to cover his brain with it.
He can't get over what he was through.
Yeah.
And dog, the song "Careless Whisper," there's like 5 different versions of that song played throughout that episode. The lyrics even contribute to the episode, right? So in Careless Whispers, one of the lyrics is like, "Time can never mend the careless whispers of a good friend. To the heart and mind, ignorance is kind. There's no comfort in the truth. Pain is all you'll find." Mm-hmm. That is that episode in a nutshell. And just like I love
David Lindelof British, because the Black Mirror. The one thing I love about Black Mirror is how the music ties in so well with the episodes.
No, and that's a big. He did it in Lost. He did it in Leftovers. Just to see his whole world shatter. I think there's some 9/11 truther allegory in there too, and to just to see your whole existence, your whole way of living is based off of because one smart man, or to go to 9/11 truthers, a group of people decided this is the course they wanted the world to take. It's terrifying, and it's just my biggest thing in life now. I want to know why people feel the way they do, because then it'll help me understand their decisions. I may not agree with them, but if I know where you're coming from, I can be like, yo, that makes sense why you did that. And that whole episode 5 did that for Looking Glass.
And the beautiful thing is we just get that one episode.
Yeah.
With Looking Glass. We just learned about him from that one episode. And so you can already tell, this man's life has been shaped from that moment. And when he finds out, we can feel how he feels when he finds out the truth. And so when you fast forward to the last episode of the season, and Adrian Veidt oh, well, I'm going to do this. No, you're under arrest. Yeah. And Looking Glass is like, no, you're going to jail, buddy.
You're going to jail.
He says it with a smile on his face. He's like, no.
Nope.
You're going to jail. I'm going to make it a point that you go to jail.
And then that inherited trauma, he's the same generation, so I guess that doesn't apply. But the moment I loved in that episode, because I have anyone who's struggled with anything or try to better themselves and they seem can't to shake something, when he learns the truth and he goes back and he still gets the alarm and the mask.
Yeah.
He's like, but what if?
Yeah.
You can't shake what you lived your whole life. I just loved it. I loved every minute of it.
So my favorite episode is episode 6. I think it is the best episode in Watchmen. And
I do not disagree with you.
I think episode 6, it's the Hooded Justice origin. I think it's going to win all the awards.
Not to interrupt you, but I just, because you have read this comic and I know you are invested in this universe, dog, making Hooded Justice a black man,
Can I go in on this episode, brother?
Yes, please.
This is a reason that this episode meant so much to me, and why I was like, this is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. All right, when you read the comic book, it makes you assume that Hooded Justice is this strong man, and they never say he is, but you just kind of assume it and you walk away. There's like certain truths that you believe of Hooded Justice, that like he was gay, that he had a relationship with Captain Metropolis. That's in the comic book. Yeah.
Okay.
It's assumed, it's like kind of well known that like you never know why his uniform is like that. You never know why he never shows his mask. You never know anything except he has a relationship with this person and that he had Silk Spectre's back. And he had like certain values that he like would not stand for. He would not stand for like women being mistreated or like people like doing the wrong thing. He had like a strong sense of justice. And you like didn't know anything about him.
Yeah.
You knew something about everyone else, but you knew nothing about Hooded Justice. And that one little thing, they made an entire television series about that one little mystery. It makes so much sense for him to be black. It makes so much sense.
Retconning at its absolute fucking finest.
Because you're wondering, like, what is up with this guy? Why does he have a black hood? Why does he have a noose around his neck? Like, what is that? Like, what does it all mean? Because you're wondering, like, well, why is he Russian then? If he's like this Hooded Justice guy, why didn't he be in the South? Like, wasn't it? It kind of looks like anti-KKK, but like, I don't get it because you never learn anything about him. So, needless to say, I love this episode not only because it answers this mystery, but because like this is Black Superman. This is like the origin story, and I wish like they didn't like that David Lindelof wasn't so public about saying, "Oh, well, that was Krypton." Did y'all get it? Like, I wanted it to kind of just be assumed. Yeah. Because like when I watched it, I was like, "That was Krypton." Like he was sent in a like a black version of a rocket ship out of Krypton into like become Superman. Like, cause and he used like that note is what his parent gave him. That's what he held on to his whole life, just like Superman held on to that cape. Like, it was such a good episode. And like this whole time, Regina King is like embedded in the story. Like she is popping in and out. So the camera work is fantastic too, because like you are realizing that she's experiencing what her grandfather went through as you are learning the story of Hooded Justice. So like some additional context, if I haven't bludgeoned the point enough, the whole reason that there's costume vigilantes in this world is because of Hooded Justice.
Yes.
He was the first one. They all base it off of him.
You're blowing my mind right now on some like keep going.
And so you find out that the original hero in this entire universe was a black man.
Dog. and you just blew because he did it out of necessity.
Yeah.
Out of necessity. And then these white people appropriated it because it was cool.
And they didn't cover their entire face.
Think about that when I was watching it.
That's what I thought about. I was like, God. Wow.
I think I was just so blown that he was unadjusted.
No, it's like, if you've read, like, if you've been deep into this world, like a lot of folks have, that episode it's like someone took a bat to your head. Because, like, it changes everything but affirms everything at the same time.
Yeah, man. Just like the fact that Hooded Justice is a black man and it all works and it all makes sense. And then a funny parallel, that episode parallels the film shown in episode 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Hooded Justice jumps into so if you go back and you watch Hooded Justice, like first Hooded Justice fight, and he's in the grocery store, and then you go, and it just shows how like the winners write history and things get changed and lost and one thing becomes another. The moment you found out that Hooded Justice, you put it like Hooded Justice is a black man, like what, like were you just like, it makes sense? Were you shocked? Like,
I stopped when he put the eye holes into the thing and I saw the noose around his neck, I was like, oh my God, he's Hooded Justice. I stopped because I was like, no. In my mind, I already told myself that Hooded Justice was that strong guy.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he can't be Hooded Justice. He's a strong guy. I was like, hold on, is he actually strong? So I went back. Looked online. I was like, hold on, no. And then I realized, no, they never answered it. Then I went into the comic book. I was like, nah, I swear. Looked at it. I was like, no, they never tell you. And it's like this mystery that's just been out there. So, yeah, I didn't believe it myself.
Interesting fact, you were talking about the writers. David Lindelof said that when he was putting together the writers' room, he didn't want people that agreed with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he was like, yeah, Hooded Justice, what do you think about Hooded Justice being black? And if they were like, oh, that's awesome, let's do it.
He didn't hire him.
He didn't hire him. Because he wanted them to like work for it and like figure it out. And that's like, I think that's a risk. I think it's a risk, but it worked. It definitely worked, man. Like,
it worked so well. I'd be surprised if Alan Moore didn't think of that the whole time.
Here's the thing about, I would be surprised because Alan Moore, to me, on what I know and what I've seen, he looks like he probably dropped the N-word in private.
Yeah.
So
he got a little racist in him.
So I wouldn't be surprised. But to take his work like that, in Watchmen comics in the 80s, it had this clear thing. It was this thing and has this clear thing. And then to turn it into this, my mind was blown. And I'm not even a Watchmen fan like that. So I could only comprehend what fans of this series were going through when they found out he was Hooded Justice.
Needless to say, that was why it was my favorite episode. I also will just mention episode 8 because they not only did they make the Hooded Justice black, they made Dr. Manhattan black.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Not only is the founder of the Justice League, I mean, I'm just saying Justice League black, but Superman is
black too.
Like,
I'm going to say this real quick, and then we're going to move on because we are almost at time. People give a lot of crap to Zack Snyder, rightfully so. The one thing I will say about Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie is he did such a good job taking what was in the comic book and making it a movie. Like,
yeah.
He didn't make a Watchmen movie. He made a live action comic book.
And
like that is it. He did almost shot for shot what was in the comic book. So like, I didn't watch it and appreciate it as like an actual movie. I watched it and was like, oh, okay, cool. You just made a live action version of this comic book.
And that's where Zack Snyder gets a lot of his criticism. He is great at, like you said, taking a page from any comic book and making it a reality. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean your movie is good or coherent or entertaining.
Yeah.
So I feel like he did it with Watchmen. He definitely did it with Batman v Superman. Like, let's be real. That's basically a live action The Dark Knight Returns.
For the most part. I mean, actually, I wish it was. It
There's
would have been a lot better.
There are clear shots that are from that comic book.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's one shot where Batman's like on the ledge and
and the lightning bolt.
Yeah, it's clearly from that comic book. But I'll say this show, after episode 5, my wife and I watched the Watchmen movie. I think this show makes the movie better, but there's some good bones in that show. In the movie. There's really good bones in there. I think he gets hung up on things that aren't detrimental to the story.
So we got a few more things and then we're wrapping up. One, what misses, so like we've been singing this show's praises because rightfully so. But what misses do you think this show had? I know there are specifically some you want to talk about in regards to the Tulsa background.
Yeah, I think it does drop the ball. Because I was like, why did Lady True need to be in Tulsa? Maybe I missed that. Because remember the family moment. Let's talk about moments. That moment with the family where she shows up and like, do you want this baby? It's yours. And like,
that's a shout out to her dad too. Cause she's like, oh, I already made the baby. Here's the baby. You gonna say no to this baby right now?
And dog, like being a parent and like knowing people who are going through fertility issues, like that's exactly how that moment would go down.
Yeah.
That is like, that's how that moment would go down for anyone who's going through fertility issues. But I got kind of, and I don't know if it's things that I missed or the story just didn't flesh out. Why did she need to be in Tulsa? Is it because Dr. Manhattan was going to be in Tulsa? But then how did she know he was going to be in Tulsa?
So I can actually explain this.
Okay.
Like, the story is centered around Tulsa because Dr. Manhattan is in Tulsa. They find out that Dr. Manhattan's in Tulsa because when the night of the white night, whatever it's called,
White Night.
When the last shooter was standing over Angela and was about to shoot him, when that guy gets knocked out, Dr. Manhattan sends him to like New Mexico. Like he doesn't kill him, he teleports him to like New Mexico where he's from.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, Dr. Manhattan did that because how else could he have just randomly show up in New Mexico? So when that happened, everybody knew Dr. Manhattan was Calvin.
Yeah.
So like 7th Cavalry knew Dr. Manhattan was Calvin. Lady True knew that Dr. Manhattan. Everybody knew Dr. Manhattan was Calvin.
I don't want to say the show dropped the ball, but like I did think there was going to be something more there about race because we started with the Tulsa riots and the massacre, and it kind of became the Dr. Manhattan show at the end, and I feel like we kind of forgot about Tulsa and forgot about, but we could go back to it. We could go back into it. Like I was thinking like, is there something in Tulsa? Is there something special about Tulsa? Why Hooded Justice got started and why, this lineage of like black superheroes and superheroes in general. I think the Ozzy timeline can get a little confusing. Like we got it on in the background. That whole bit where he gets the horseshoe, like obviously when he leaves, he could have left whenever he wanted.
Yeah.
So why was he? I took it as when the horseshoe was supposed to come, when the ship was supposed to arrive, and that's why he was excited because he knew it was time to leave.
No, he had crafted all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is I didn't write the story, so I'm just telling you what my opinion is. My opinion is like he didn't want to be bored because he knew he was going to go crazy if he was going to be bored. So he made like the warden to be like this bad guy, and he had got the clone people to like at some point he's going to be in jail, and at some point they're going to sneak a horseshoe in the cake, and that's how they're going to give it to him. That's part of the reason why I think like a couple episodes ago, like when they're like singing, the first episode when like for he's a guy, good fellow, they give him the cake, and the clone actually gives him a horseshoe to cut the cake. And he's like, no, why would you give me a horseshoe? Because like he had told him at some point you're gonna sneak a horseshoe in the cake because that's how I'm gonna break out of jail.
He just did all of that because he was bored. It's kind of like mind blowing, but this show touches a lot of things, especially with Dr. Manhattan, like time and like there is no then or now when it comes to Dr. Manhattan. And for anyone, I'm about to spoil Lost to a degree, but at the end of Lost, Jack sees his father, who has been dead. He had his dead body in a plane. He's like, he asked him like, where are we or when are we? And he's like, well, there is no then now. And it's like kind of like in the afterlife, there is no like God is what is it
omnipotent.
Omnipotent. There is no then and now for God. It's all now.
Yeah, I loved episode 8 because like it straight up did what the comic book did. The comic book like paints that, but it does it in like an entire book. But they were able to do it in like an hour episode, which was dope.
Can I ask you, just because I'm sorry, but you have the answers. What I still don't understand why it had to go down, how it had to go down. If John is omnipotent, it seems like he really could have stopped the guy who transferred him to that machine after he saved Regina King. So like, that's one thing I still don't. He's like, you have to see me on the water. It's important. And I get the end. She wants to step on, but like I don't like. Why did it have to go down that way?
Well, I mean that's like a religious question. If God knew what He knows, why does He let things happen the way it does? If John Osterman, like you can't look at it like John Osterman is a human. You gotta look at Dr. Manhattan is like a living God, and he's like, if he already knew the slug was gonna be put in New York and 1 million people were gonna die, but it was gonna save 1 billion people. Why did He let it happen? He could have easily like made it so like change people's minds so like they wouldn't shoot the warheads at each other. You can't get to it because like he's not a human. He doesn't think like a human. So it just happens the way that it happens.
I guess my thing is, if we don't get a season 2, that why it's kind of left unannounced, because it's like if he was supposed to give Sister Knight his powers, And the way this season ends, we don't know why that should happen. It just did.
The one miss that I have, Dr. Manhattan seems really human in this TV show.
Yeah.
When, like, in reality, he's not. But that can easily be explained because he just spent 10 years living like a human again. So he's just getting recalibrated to it. By the end of the Watchmen comic book, Dr. Manhattan, there is only thing that looked human in Dr. Manhattan is his balls. Like, nothing. He just doesn't act human.
Yeah.
But in the TV show, he does, and that's my one miss. So we got to wrap up. We're at time. What would you do for season 2?
Man,
if there is a season 2.
Can you go first?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can. There's 2 things that I would do. One, I would explore the Night Owl character and explore why he is put into jail. So in the TV show, he eventually marries Agent Blake.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not 100% sure. So, like, why? Like, why did he and her get married, and why is he now in jail? I want to know that. I also want to know, like, the stories behind some of the other Minutemen. In the comic books, they go into little bits and pieces about all of them, but I think if you do, like, a wide story about, like, particularly who I want to learn more about is Dollar Bill, because he is like a corporate he's a bank sponsored superhero, and I think there's some stories about that, like capitalism and how jacked up that is.
It sounds like The Boys, the whole plot to The Boys.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. But like, just imagine if Walmart had their own superhero, right? Like, I want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. That sounds really interesting.
And then there's 2 characters in the comic books that I feel like they can just expand upon a lot more, like they did in the TV show. One is Dr. Malcolm Long. He is the therapist for Rorschach. Like, I think it'll be interesting. He's a brother, by the way. So I wanted to just, like, what does it mean to be the guy who is, like, being the therapist to one of the most craziest people on the planet? And then they never talk about Seymour David. Seymour David is the guy who gets Rorschach's journal. Like, at the end of end of Watchmen.
Fat guy at the end?
Yeah, at the end of Watchmen, Rorschach gives his journal to this newspaper company, and, like, it says everything that Ozymandias did. And the guy who gets it is Seymour David. And they never talk about in the TV show what happened when he got Rorschach's journal. That literally explains why Ozymandias did what he did. I'd love to hear, like, if something happened to him, if he got killed or whatever. Those are the 2 things I'd explore in season 2, or the 3 things I explore in season 2.
Yeah, I don't know if I want a show where Regina King now has the god powers of Dr. Manhattan, just because, like, I don't know if you can make that interesting. If she can just, because Dr. Manhattan, like, he's not interesting. His interactions and outlook are interesting. I think if you go to season 2, you deal with the result of everyone learning that Ozzy caused the squid attack.
Yeah.
And what culture shift that means. What does that mean for nations? Do we go back to the Cold War again? Do all the nations want to try him as a war criminal? Yeah. You know, the Night Owl stuff. I kind of, like, my hands are up in the air for where they take the show, because I'm like, I don't think I could comprehend where they're probably going to take the show if they do a season 2. I think we're all going to have an idea of, like, yeah, they'll do this, and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, so
looking forward to it.
I need more Jeremy Irons and more. Oh, and season 2, I need to find out who the hell Lube Dude is.
I know who Lube Dude is.
You do?
That's actually what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
So, well, we're wrapping up to the show. We're at the end of the show. Real quick, I was going to ask you who Lube Man is. I know who Lube Man is.
I have zero
It
idea.
is strongly implied that the FBI agent Petey is Lube Man. If you, like, read some of the things that come on the website,
his
Peteypedia,
yeah,
and you, like, read, like, the last 3 things, it talks about like this mythology of, like, these folks who served in these military folks who served in Vietnam, and how they wore silver suits and put on a specific type of lube because they were fighting with Dr. Manhattan. They were fighting alongside Dr. Manhattan, and that was the way to protect themselves.
Yeah.
They describe essentially Lube Man's outfit. And
interesting.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like, it's that guy. He's Lube Man.
Here's my pitch for season 2. You show Regina King's foot at the pool, and it drops slightly into the pool. You cut, and we don't see Regina King back until like the end of the season.
Oh, I fully agree. So you see, when I talked about season 2, I didn't mention Regina King at all. I think the way you play it is like, if she does get the powers of Dr. Manhattan, then she just does it. And it's like in the background. It's just like, oh, you see a blue person show up while like Night Owl's fighting somebody and like zap somebody and then leave. And you're like, was that Regina King? Like, just, you don't answer that question. Like, I do not think you should answer that question. Okay, anyways. That is it.
If you haven't put together after this episode, we love this show. It's a good show. You should watch the show. If you're still like, no, I wonder if they like the show.
Yeah, we like the show. It was a pretty good show. Strongly suggest that you all, like, only if you clearly must not have kids if you're able to read the entire Watchmen comic books, or you got a lot of dedicated read time at night. But it's a long comic book. If you really love comic books, I suggest you read it. If not, just watch the Watchmen TV or movie. The movie does a very good job telling the story in the comic book. But that is it, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. We got a new episode like a couple times a month.
Yep.
So you can find us on all social media at Pop Call Parent. You can email us at popcallparent@gmail.com. Please don't forget to rate us, review, and subscribe. We may have a special guest coming in the next episode. I got a good friend coming in town who can give some perspective on things.
So another host.
Another
new host.
And at some point, Shannon will come back. Don't forget to join the call, y'all.
Yeah. Hey, man, before we go, Happy New Year to you, bro.
Happy New Year to you, brother. Appreciate you. All right, peace.
Peace.
Time can never mend careless whispers of a good friend to the heart and mind. Ignorance is kind. There's no comfort in the truth. Pain is all